What's up, guys? It's Jason with Napier Photography, and I've got a follow-up video for you. So guys, I just posted my A9 Part 2 last night, and then today I started noticing some of the comments, a couple of comments on there about the A9, and I wanted to follow up on one particular one that my buddy Alan on there posted. I say he's my buddy. He's one of my subscribers. I really appreciate you, Alan. Thank you for looking at my content and commenting. I really appreciate that. But he just kind of basically said that he loves his A9, but with the A7R III, you know, it's going to be amazing, and everything Sony puts out is amazing. But he was basically saying that if someone didn't have either one, because what would I suggest to those people? Now, I'm going to be referring to the A7R II a little bit today because it's 42 megapixels, and that's one that I've shot. That's one that I've looked at files, and that's one I can talk about. I've looked at some of the files that some of the guys have been getting the early access to the A7R III, and I can talk about a little bit of that. But really, you know, I've shot the A7R II, and I know a little bit about, you know, the size of the files and things like that. And then I've shot the A9 for over a month now. So, Sony A9, 24 megapixels. Sony A7R III is 42. You know, you're probably thinking, how much of a big deal that can be. It's really big. It's a huge file, okay? And so you pull that into Lightroom, like I did the A7R II. I did some photos last year around Christmas, and with the A7R II. And when I brought those files in, I was like, wow, those are huge files. It seemed like my computer slowed down, and I pride myself on keeping my computer pretty clean. Matter of fact, I would say almost anal about what's on my computer. I cannot stand when my wife gets on my computer, because she gets on there and looks up stuff like People Magazine and stuff, and I swear I just worry about all kinds of viruses and things. I've got every kind of malware and spyware virus blocker there is out there on my computer. So I try to keep it pretty fast. It's only 8 gigs of RAM. I know a lot of you are saying 16 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of RAM, that would be more ideal, but I just can't see paying the price difference between, you know, when I can get an iMac with 8 gigs of RAM for, you know, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400, which is awesome, or paying for the 16 or whatever like that. And yes, I can go in and have it upgraded and have all that stuff done. I just haven't done that because 8 gigs of RAM honestly has been fine for me. So, and I usually take my Photoshop and things like that and allocate a lot more memory to those so they'll run faster. But I pulled those files in and my computer bogged down just a little bit. So that was a little bit frustrating when working with those files because they're massive. But what I'll tell you is that 24 megapixels has been plenty for my photography. I shoot portraits, weddings, I shoot you know, real estate. Tomorrow I've got a real estate shoot. It was supposed to be today, but they weren't ready. But I've got a family coming in the studio tomorrow. But 24 megapixels is a beautiful big file. I mean, I can crop in pretty close, and you know, and for those of you guys that are, I try not to talk to you guys like I'm some kind of camera know-it-all, because I don't know it all, but I know enough to be dangerous or helpful for myself. I don't know which that would be, but you know, I know that if I shoot at 24 megapixels, and let's just say that I want to crop that down, and when I crop it in, the size of the file gets smaller. So, you know, obviously the quality of the photo, you know, goes down a little bit, but I don't see much of that fall off with the Sony as I did when I shot, no offense, the other camera systems. When I cropped in, I really saw a lot of grain, a lot of things that it really just changed for me. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about RAW in later videos. I used to shoot everything in RAW. I'm not knocking shooting RAW. However, I'll only say, the only caveat that I would say to that, because we're talking about large files and we're talking about the difference between the A9 and A7R III, but let's say you shoot 42 megapixels in RAW, and you bring that in, that's massive. And for those average, not professional photographers, but those people that are working towards, amateurs working towards semi-professional type photographers, shooting in RAW is tough. I mean, yes, you can really recover highlights, you can recover shadows, you can recover a lot of that stuff and not deal with a lot of the grain issues and stuff like that. But I will tell you that what I found trying to teach people to shoot in RAW and then bringing their files into Lightroom or any other software that you're going to process your photos after the fact, I had a lot of people that got frustrated because they saw that their photos in camera looked great, but then when they pulled them into Lightroom or whatever software they're using, they just fell off and they had to go in there and basically adjust everything. Now, let's just say this. Once you learn it, it's really not that hard to do to recover those things that you've lost, and it is great to be able to do those things. Now, with that being said, we're talking about a Sony camera system, okay? We're talking about Sony. I don't worry about that because I can see exactly what I'm getting when I'm taking a photo. So, if I take a photo and it's blown out, I knew it when I took it. So, there's two frames of thinking there, or not frames of thinking, two ways of thinking. Okay, yes, with RAW, you can recover a lot. Now, I'm not knocking RAW. Please, I am not knocking RAW. If you want to do that, great. But for me, I shoot JPEG fine. And it's just like it says. JPEG is just fine for me. And I shoot professional work, and I deliver professional work, and I edit it, and I edit it in Photoshop and Lightroom, and I'm able to recover highlights, and I'm able to do all those things in Photoshop and in Lightroom just as I did when I was with RAW. Now, obviously, there's some things that, when you try to do too much, you can get a little bit of noise or grain, but I didn't notice that. So if you're going to shoot 42 megapixels on the A7R III in RAW and you really don't know how to do all of that recovery work or that, I guess, making it look like it did in your camera, because it's giving you a JPEG view of what you took and not a RAW file, because RAW is almost like it's just very neutral looking, so when you bring it in, it'll show up on your Lightroom. It's real colorful and vibrant, and all of a sudden it'll process it, boom, and you're like, whoa, this doesn't look like anything like I took a photo of. Okay, and there's tons of videos out there, and I may do some on how to do that and cross it over, but I just found that shooting in JPEG fine was easy for me, and I found that shooting at 24 megapixels was my sweet spot, no matter what kind of cropping I did or anything. And the 42 was just way too much for what I needed. Okay, so that being said, am I going to get the Sony A7R III? I'm not sure. I do a lot of portrait work, and it would be beautiful. And I was thinking, I've got some weddings and things coming up, and it would be great to really get those bridal sessions and really get those details. But I don't know that I would shoot the entire thing with the A7R III, just because when I bring those in, it's going to be a massive file and hard to deal with. So I don't know, Alan. You said if I would recommend anybody, if money wasn't an issue, I would probably tell you to go with the Sony A9. Yes, it's $4,600, and the other's $32. But I promise you, if your computer's not very fast and you're dealing with these huge files, and you're like me, I take a ton of photos, it's a lot. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying that, hey, upgrade your other stuff. I told you don't skimp on your equipment, so get the best of the best. So yeah, you could probably say, Jason, you should just upgrade your computer, and you're absolutely right. But there again, it's just huge files. So I don't know, maybe I will get one, but honestly, the A9 is amazing. But if I were to recommend anybody, like I said in my other times I've said it, is, starting out an A6000, absolutely. I wanted to upgrade to the 6300. I wanted to upgrade up to the 6500, but it's just really difficult because my A6000 is just a beautiful camera still. And so, and what's crazy is Sony keeps updating. So, Alan, look, you said you had the A9, and I'm so happy for you. I'm sure you're having a blast with it, and, you're in this journey with me. So you're getting to see that, basically, the sky's the limit with these Sony mirrorless cameras anyway, and the Sony A9's crazy. And I talked a little bit about some of the schematics or the techno camera nerd stuff that I try to stay away from, because I know some things, and I don't want to act like I know all the ins and outs, because I don't. If you want that kind of information, I can do those things, but that's not something I plan on doing a ton of. But I know that the A9 shoots 20 frames a second, and for a sports photographer, that's amazing. However, if you're like me, I think everything's an awesome shot, So with the Sony A9 with a 100-400 at the Tennessee football game versus Georgia, I want to say I took about, I might have taken 3,000, 4,000 photos, and then I had my A7 II on my hip as well, and I was shooting that with the 24-70, and so I probably knocked off another 1,600 with that one. So I had a lot of photos. So with 20 frames a second, I mean, you get 130 photos so fast, and then when you get into Lightroom and pull all those up, you're like, oh my gosh, and it's great because you can go in there and get that perfect one, but that's a lot of files. I mean, it's just a lot of files. It's funny because I sit here and hear myself talking, and I just can't say anything bad about Sony. I can't say anything bad about the A7R III being only 10 frames per second because I shot other cameras that had 5 and 6 frames per second, and I was still able to get great shots with those. So it's kind of like being a baby and whining about things, You could shoot the A7R III at 10 frames per second, but I'm not going to shoot a football game and take that many photos and have those huge files. It's going to be massive bringing that thing into Lightroom, trying to edit 1,600, 1,800 high school football games, 2,000, 2,500, SEC football game pictures to do. Maybe not that bad. That's why I was saying that I might get the A7R III for portrait work or headshots because, it's not a lot of photos and there's a lot of detail and it could be great. But again, I get that with the A9. I get that with the A7 II. I get that with the A6000. So it's kind of like, I get great details. I get smooth, buttery, awesome photos with every Sony system I'm using. Guys, you just can't go wrong. So I guess it's just about your budget. But see, it's kind of weird because, excuse me. All right, so you got 42 megapixels at $3,200. You got 24 at its A9, okay? But you get so much with the Sony A9. It's more expensive, less megapixels, but I think you'll be happier with it. Now, again, it's a professional piece of equipment. It's their flagship, and it warrants that name. I'm telling you, like my friends that see the files that come out of my A9 are just blown away. They're like, I have got to get an A9. I've got guys scrambling to sell their gear, and I'm not going to talk about who. They're trying to sell their gear to get Sony because they love it. The video on these things are amazing. I mean, you're seeing it. I'm sitting here recording myself on this A7 II, and this thing, it's considered old. It's 2-3 years old, and it's a redonkulous camera. So anyway, Alan, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I mean, I may buy a Sony A7R III for portrait work and for headshots and maybe for some landscapes and stuff like that. Who knows? But right now, I'm totally satisfied with the A9 and the A7 II and my A6000. I mean, they're just amazing cameras. So let me talk to you about my setup because it actually, I was recording earlier and it kind of messed me up because I kind of got it rigged up a little in here. It probably looks the same to you, but it's not. Okay, so the video I did the other day, it was, to me, the lighting wasn't as good as what I like. So I thought, what can I do? The lighting, I've been adding lamps in here, and it's kind of a tricky thing when you get a studio because you want that daylight lighting because it's really pretty and soft, like LED lights, almost like continuous lighting. But you also kind of get used to that little warm glow of some daylight, some warm, soft light. So I've kind of mixed it up a little bit. I've mixed my lighting up just because it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. So above me in just the overhead lights, I've got some warm, soft lights. In my studio, in the corners, I've got some warm, soft lights that are clipped to the rails out to the outside, and it just warms it up because you really don't see that once I start taking photos anyway, but it just looks better because daylight lighting overhead on just a little fixture, gosh, it looked like a hospital in here, and I could not stand it. I wanted it to look beautiful, and the way I see it now, it's starting to look that way. So let me talk to you about what I got. I've got 2 floor lamps that are in the corner there. They're like those little rice paper lamps. They're really pretty, and I have daylight lighting. There's 2 bulbs in them. I would recommend those. Maybe when I show you the studio, I'll show them to you. The rice paper, it looks kind of cheap, but gosh, man, it's just really pretty. So I've got that going on. I have my A7 II video with a micro Rode mic right there. I've got the 18-105 GOSS lens recording me right now. I have a newer field monitor right there that I'm using, and you know, that's a really cool thing to be able to see yourself, to make sure that you're focused, to make sure everything behind you is where you want it. And I don't know if this is exactly perfect yet. You know, I'm gonna play around with it, but I just know that this is kind of what things need to look like right now. In the corner behind me over there, I have a new little lamp that I bought tonight. It's like a little tripod looking lamp. I have another one in the kitchen. And then to make it look really good in here, what I did, and this is really cool, I'll have to show you in another video, but I bought these they're like lights that can go, they're LED portable lights you can take with you in your car, and they basically fold out like this, and they have a magnet, and they got hooks on the top and the bottom, and you just click it on. It can be all 4 lights on, or just one side on. If you're changing your tire, you can put it on the ground and shine it up on the tire, and it's like 400 lumens, so it's really bright. So being a good old boy, you know, this is old country boy will survive. Didn't know I could sing. So I thought, you know what, that'd be really cool, because I do have some shop LED lights in my studio that I like to turn on because it just makes everything look pretty. And you can use work lights and just put a shoot-through umbrella over top of them, guys, and they look great. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it because it doesn't look bad. So I took those things and stuck them on my little accent chairs where my little accent pillows were, and I turned them on. They got all 4 lights are on. They're shining on me, and I have 2 white shoot-through umbrellas right there, and it just really makes it look pretty in here. It really looks good. So I'm excited to show you guys my studio. Alan, I hope I answered your question. I hope I didn't ramble too much, but gosh almighty, when I talk about these camera systems, mirrorless is the future. I want you to know I am not paid by Sony. I am not a Sony boy. I don't, but there's nothing wrong with it. I wish I was. You know, Sony, holler at me sometime when I get a little bigger, when people are following my channel. You know, but I appreciate all of you guys that are starting this journey off with me and following my videos. I want to start posting more content. I was really being honest. I wanted to make sure my studio looked good before I started posting stuff. This kind of inspires me. It's really beautiful down here, and it looks great. It gets me excited. It looks professional because it is professional, and that's how I wanted it to look. And so I'm just excited to give you guys lots of content. So please like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends, and just follow me in this journey, guys. This is you know, this is all new to all of us, guys. Sony's constantly putting new stuff out. And anyway, this is Jason with Napier Photography. It's been great. I'll talk to you guys soon.